Well, hello again, everybody. Uh, I'm going to tell a story about turning 18 in the United States Navy. And as I've said before, I joined the Navy a week after turning 17 years old. One week I was 16 years old in the 10th grade, uh, you know, doing chores at home. And the next week I was 17 years old and doing push-ups uh, in boot camp in the United States Navy. Best thing I ever did. But anyway, um, I finished boot camp in, I think, August of 1981. And I had 6 weeks. It's called A school in the Navy. I was a signalman in the Navy, so they had to teach me how to use Morse code, how to read flag hoist signals, and semaphore. And then I reported aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, CVN 69. It's probably about 3 days before Thanksgiving of 1981. And I wasn't even 17 and a half years old yet, at that time. And we were deploying to the Mediterranean Sea January 5th of 1982. And my chief petty officer, when he got off of leave around Thanksgiving, he sat me down. He talked to me. He said, uh, "What do you know about investments?" Well, what does a 17-year-old know about investments? I wasn't even 17 and a half yet. And I said, "Well, sir," he said, "let me stop you right there, young man." He said, "I'm a chief petty officer in the United States Navy. I work for a living. Don't you ever call me sir. You call me chief." And that's the first lesson I learned in the Navy. People call you by your last name or by the kind of work that you do. I was a signalman. They called me SIGs or flags, or Sloan, my last name. If you was a bosun mate, they called you boats. If you was, um, I could go on and on. But anyway, so I'm thinking, and luckily I read a lot when I was growing up, especially in high school. And I said, "Chief, isn't that where like you take where you buy something when you're young and you hold on to it and it builds in value and it helps you out later in life?" He said, "Son, I like the way you think." He said, "Sit down. I'm going to give you an investment tip that's going to help you retire early." And so anyway, I sit down. He said, "Get your pen out. I want you to write this down." I said, "Okay, Chief." Now this is November of 1981. Okay, it was way back before Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and Windows was pretty new. Microsoft, Apple was. I don't even know if Apple was actually a company yet. But anyway, he said, "Write this down. I want you to start investing in this as soon as possible, and you will retire. You will retire earlier than most people your age." And so anyway, I'm thinking he's going to say Exxon or Mobil or Polaroid or Kraft or Xerox. He said, "I want you to start investing in this as soon as possible and keep investing in this, and you'll do all right." I said, "Okay." He said, "Condoms." And I'm thinking, I guess he saw the puzzled look on my face. Now, remember, in 1981, women weren't on ships. They were on auxiliary Navy ships, but that was it. There wasn't on any combatants. And he said, "Let me tell you, when this ship deploys in January, we're going to have over 6,000 swinging dicks on the ship. And half of them paying child support for kids they don't even get to see." He said, "How much are you making?" I said, "Well, I'm making $504 a month." That's how much I got paid in the Navy back then. I was so gullible and just uh, naive. When I joined the Navy, I thought that my pay was going to be the room and board, living on the ship and eating on the ship. So, but anyway, $504 was a lot of money, to me. But anyway, he said, "All right, if you go out here and you get a girl pregnant, the Navy is going to make sure that dependent is taken care of. That's what they were called back then. dependents. Now it's called your baby mama. They didn't have direct deposit back in 1981. The Navy had what was called an allotment. They would take half your money and send it to your child's mother as an allotment check. So uh, that advice really helped me out. I never did have kids. I would have liked to, it just never worked out because of my work, being in the Navy, going out to sea all the time, being on the police department, working nights, working holidays, working homicides, working narcotics. It just really never worked out. But anyway, I'm getting to my story about turning 18 years old. So, but that chief went on to tell me that one day you're going to be shaving, and there's going to be a 60-year-old man looking back at you in the mirror. And you got to ask that old man, why are you shaving? Are you taking your ass to work, or are you going fishing? He said, the decisions that you make starting now will determine what that answer is going to be when you answer back that 60-year-old man shaving. He was talking about that 60-year-old man is going to be me. And so he said, you got to start planning for your future. And I'm glad that that's some advice that I listened to. Because contrary to most 17-year-olds, I didn't know everything. And I knew I didn't know everything. So anyway, I was always one for listening to the elder generation, and they had more wisdom and experience, and I picked up on that. So I retired 3 times on a GED that I got on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower in the Mediterranean Sea on this first deployment that I went on. So, but anyway, I was fortunate enough for the ship to have pulled into the number one tourist place in Europe. At least it was at the time. There's Palma de Mallorca, Spain. And the women from Sweden and Switzerland and just all over Europe, they would go to Palma de Mallorca, Spain for weekends and for their vacations. So my ship was actually anchored out in the harbor on my 18th birthday. Well, like I said, I just turned 18. That's my 18th birthday. I didn't drink. I didn't know nothing about drinking. I didn't even really care to drink. But being in the Navy back in them days, the Navy considered you kind of like a weakling or just not a true sailor if you didn't drink. So anyway, my buddies that worked with me on the signal bridge, a bunch of us went on the beach on Liberty, and we had to ride a motor whaleboat into the beach because we were anchored like 4 miles out in the harbor. We took this motorboat to Fleet Landing, and we started exploring the bars in Palma de Mallorca, Spain. Well, my buddies they let me try a few different beers, and they all tasted nasty to me. I remember a Stella beer and just some other beers. And back in them days, over in Europe, they used formaldehyde as a preservative in beer. So that formaldehyde gave you one hell of a hangover and headache. But I wasn't really drinking that much, and I just couldn't stand the taste of anything that they gave me. Well, someone said, "Hey, well, give them a rum and coke." Well, they gave me rum and coke, and I tasted it. I said, this ain't too bad. Well, that's the last thing that I was drinking on my 18th birthday was rum and coke, and I had a few of them. I had so many that I don't even remember getting back to the ship. Now, remember, the ship was anchored out 4 miles out in the harbor. I don't remember getting on the utility or motor whaleboat, and I briefly remember waking up thrown over the side of that motor whaleboat, and the water, was about that far from my face out in the harbor. Next thing I knew, it was probably 7 o'clock in the morning. Now we had quarters at 7:45. Quarters is like where each division they muster the personnel muster. They have to take basically roll call to see who's on board the ship. and that's a daily function, even underway, because they need to find out if anybody fell overboard sometime during the night or whatever. But so I woke up laying on my back in the hangar bay. The hangar bay on an aircraft carrier is where they park the planes inside the ship. I was underneath a F-14 Tomcat. You know, the original Top Gun. That plane was the F-14 Tomcat. I was I passed out underneath this F-14 Tomcat, and the only reason I woke up was because it was dropping a little hydraulic fluid on me, and it like tapped me, dropping on my forehead. It woke me up. A good thing, because it was time to get ready to get showered, get my uniform on, and go to muster up on the Civil Bridge. So I got so sick on that on my 18th birthday from that rum and coke. I could not even drink straight Coke for 2 years. If I smelled Coca Cola or tasted it, I would gag. That's how bad of alcohol poisoning I got for drinking that rum and coke. And to this day, I still don't drink rum and coke. Now I drink some coke, but I cannot mess with rum. I don't even try. I learned my limitations on that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story, and um, we'll see you next time. Hopefully, I'll have an interesting story for you. Take care.